Hi Maker, this is Claire from Claire Makery, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to crochet the My Beginner Colorwork Sweater. This crochet sweater pattern was designed to help you become comfortable and confident with doing crochet colorwork and to help you get really comfortable as well with doing crochet garments. I'm really excited to teach you how to crochet this sweater pattern and see what wonderful doors are opened to you once you learn how to do colorwork. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we officially begin going into this tutorial, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button below so that I know that you enjoyed this video and that you don't miss out on any of my upcoming crochet tutorials here on my channel. Once you've done that, then we can go ahead and start talking about the yarn for this pattern. So to make this pattern, I used Lion Brand Heartland yarn, which is a really soft, very beautiful worsted weight yarn that comes in so many amazing colors. It has 251 yards per skein in it, and it's 100% acrylic. Now you can use any worsted weight yarn to make this pattern, but if you would like to use the Heartland yarn, I highly recommend getting the Lion Brand kit that I have available on their website. That comes with all of the yarn as well as the digital pattern for this crochet sweater. Besides the yarn, you are going to need a 7mm crochet hook, and when it comes to the yarn colors, I used a couple different colors of Lion Brand Heartland. So I used this color, which is Yosemite, then I also used Isle Royale and Acadia, and then Bryce Canyon. And these all can be mixed and changed with whatever colors that you want to use on your sweater, but those are the Lion Brand Heartland colors that I used for mine. So once you get your supplies all together, we can go ahead and start talking about the pattern. One of the big parts of this pattern is doing color work, and when you do color work, you use crochet charts. Each size grouping in this pattern, which goes from extra small to large, and then extra large to 5XL, that's a typo here on my part. But they each have their own special chart here that you can use in order to do the color work for this pattern. So in order to read this chart, you are going to start from the top right corner and read it from right to left. And you will always start on the right side when you are reading the chart as you go all the way down each of these rounds. You'll notice here that it is slanted, and then there's this huge blank space over here. So the white over here on this side indicates no stitches are done in this section, and anything that is colored on this right side is what you are going to be doing. So my favorite part about doing colorwork charts for circular yokes is that you can include any of the increases within the chart. So you'll see here that these first two rows have the same amount of stitches, which is 7, and then it increases to 8 on this row right here, which is row 3. So what that means is that on the 7th stitch, instead of just continuing and going around and crocheting, you'll crochet 6 stitches, and then on the 7th one you're going to do an increase there, and I'll show you how to do that with the actual crocheting aspect. But this is how you can read this portion of the chart, is that you will be, anytime that you see this these amount of stitches increase outward, that means that these last 2 stitches here in this row are going to be part of the increase for this pattern. And you'll see here on this section, some of those stitches involve 2 colors, so you'll switch from one color to the next as you are doing that increase. So you'll do 1 waistcoat stitch in the orange and then 1 waistcoat stitch in the main color in the same stitch to do that increase like you normally do. It's just 2 different colors. And so you'll just want to make sure you pay attention to the right chart for your size, and then once you get to the body, there are 2 different charts that you will be using for that as well, and all the sizes use these charts. Once you are ready to start your sweater, you are going to start by chaining the amount of chains that your size calls for. My size is a size medium, so I am doing the extra small to large size grouping, which means that I chained 57 stitches. So we always chain one more stitch than the amount of single crochets that we'll need, and we need 56 single crochets in the next round, which means we're going to do 57 chain stitches. Once you have those chain stitches all done, we are going to join this together because we are going to start working in the round. So what I like to do, especially when I'm working on a table, is I like to lay out my chain to make sure that it's not tangled or nothing's messed up with it. And then I make sure that I go through my chain, the first one, and then we are going to join that with a slip stitch so that these two are joined completely together. And then I've got the start of my neckline. So then once you do that, you're going to chain one, and we are going to start by single crocheting all the way around this amount of chain stitches here. Now remember, because we joined this stitch together to join it into the round, this first stitch does not count as a stitch anymore because we are eliminating that by then having this last stitch right here be one of the stitches. So you are going to start in this next chain over here, and then you just do a normal single crochet all the way around this group of chain stitches, and this is our foundational row of single crochet, which helps create the foundational row for doing the waistcoat stitch on the next round, which is what the whole sweater will be made up of. Once you have crocheted all the way around that set of chain stitches to get your first round done, we are going to start on our first round of the waistcoat stitch. Now the waistcoat stitch is also known as the knit stitch. It is the perfect stitch for doing colorwork garments, especially circular yokes, because it helps the stitches stack really nicely on top of each other, which helps the color work not slant, and then you don't have to work in the back loops only. If you've never done the waistcoat stitch before, I have a tutorial that walks you through how to do it. You can find the link for that in the description box of this video, and it will walk you through each step of how to do this stitch, but I'll show you a quick little tutorial of how to do it right now for this next round. So to begin the next round, you're going to chain one, and then we are going to come over here to this very first stitch in the round, and we are going to look for the post of the stitch. So I'm going to hold this up to the camera so you can see it, and you'll see there is this kind of V right here that is the middle of the post of the stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert our hook through that, making sure we go through the middle of that post, and then you just do a single crochet through that. And you'll see what that does is that creates this distinct V with the yarn. Now that distinct V is what we are going to be doing all of our stitches in. And so then as we go in this round, we are going to be doing that waistcoat stitch, which is just a single crochet through the post of each stitch. And this is the foundation row of the waistcoat stitch. Once you have it all established, then you just always go through these V's instead of doing your normal single crochet like you do through the top two loops of the stitch. And it's just super simple. It's just a normal single crochet. You can totally do it. Now this first round where you're setting this up, it can be a little tricky and take a little bit of time. And what I really recommend doing is if you find that your stitches get way too tight, always go up a hook size. As long as you meet the gauge of this pattern, always, like, if your stitches get too tight, you can totally go up a hook size, and that just helps the waistcoat stitches work out a lot better. So just go ahead and do that all the way around, creating that first round of waistcoat stitch, and then I'll show you how we will do the increases with this stitch. Once you have finished that first row of the waistcoat stitch, we are going to begin by doing our first increase row of this sweater. Since this is a circular yoke, we are working in the round, and then we increase every other row till we have reached the amount of stitches needed for your yoke. So what we're going to do is you're going to start by doing 1 chain stitch, and then like I showed you on that chart, we are going to do 6 stitches, so 6 waistcoat stitches, just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then in this 7th one, we just do 2 waistcoat stitches. So I'll show you that again. You do 1, 2, let's get some more yarn, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then in this next waistcoat stitch, you just do 2 waistcoat stitches. So just like we've been doing, like we did on that other round, it's just a single crochet done through the V of this stitch. So it's nice and easy, and then you just repeat that all the way around. After that, you'll just do a row of the waistcoat stitch and then more increase rounds till you reach where we are going to begin doing the color work for this pattern. So go ahead and just keep crocheting these rounds, following along with the written pattern till we get to where we will start doing the color work, which I can't wait for you to start. Once you are on the last round of this first color before we switch to our next one, on the very last stitch, we are going to switch over to our next color. So what you'll do is you'll start the stitch by going in that V of the waistcoat stitch, since this is an increase round, and then you are going to take your next color of yarn, which is what you'll do all the color work with. You'll be doing the color work, so we will have like this orange color here, and then this cream yarn is the background. So now we have officially switched over to this new color by using the last yarn over to switch colors, and then we will join to that chain 1 at the beginning of the round, and then we'll begin our next round with this new color. Since we won't be using this orange yarn for 2 rounds, we are going to just leave it right here and you won't be carrying this at all. What I like to do to help carry it up rows, since we're doing a type of stripe pattern, is on the very first stitch of this round, I am going to carry my yarn 1 stitch. So I'll hold my yarn up to the back here of my work, and then I will insert my hook in that very first stitch, and it will go around that strand of yarn, and then I'll do my normal waistcoat stitch around that. Then I'll just leave my yarn there, and then this way we are helping bring it up to when we will need it 2 rounds from now. So what you'll do is you'll continue by doing the 1 round of normal waistcoat and then doing an increase round, and then I will show you how to start doing the color work for this sweater. And since we are going to be doing color work in this round, we are going to carry this orange yarn to the point where we need it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by carrying it through the first stitch. So we'll do chain 1 and then carry it in this first stitch, and then we are going to be using Fair Isle crochet for this, which means that we are going to have floats on the back of our work. So about every 2 to 3 stitches, you'll want to lock the stitch, the yarn you're carrying, in place. That way your floats aren't too large. So since we're doing 5, we will do 1, and then on this second one, I'm going to go ahead and lock my float, and then you'll see there's this little strand of yarn on the back right here. And then we won't carry it through each stitch, and this is to help prevent the yarn from poking through the stitches, and it just gives a cleaner look overall. So then we're going to do 1 more stitch, and then on this 5th stitch, on that last yarn over, we are going to switch to the orange, and then now we have changed our color to do the first of the color work stitches. Then we are going to go ahead and do the 1 stitch in the orange, and then we will switch to our cream, and then we will continue doing our stitches to get to that next orange one. So on this third stitch away from here, I'm going to go ahead and lock my float, as you'll see here on the back of the work. I just lock that in place, doing the normal stitch, and then you continue repeating that until you finish the round. So just following that chart and the written pattern as well, and you'll get some good practice on this foundation row for the color work. Once you are done with that first round of the color work, we are going to start on the next one, and you are going to continue carrying that yarn around on the back side. You'll carry it across the chain space that you made, where you just do the chain one at the beginning of the round. So you'll chain one, and then in that first stitch, you will carry your yarn through that stitch. So then we will take a look at our chart here, and you'll see on this round right here, we've got an increase. So the increase, I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. The increase counts for this stitch and this stitch. So the last two stitches, when it extends outward to the left, is an increase. So that means you will start the round by doing 4 of the cream, then 3 of the orange, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches of the cream, and then do an increase in the cream. And you'll see in these later rounds here, there are 2 separate colors for some of these increases. I will be teaching you how to do that so you can do that really easily, but we'll go ahead and I'll show you how to do this row right here so you can do the next one, and then I'll show you how to do that one with a different colored increase. So we'll start the round by doing those 4 stitches. So we already did 1, so 2, 3, and then on that 4th one, we will switch over to our orange yarn, and then we will do the orange for 3 stitches, 1, 2, and 3. Then get our cream yarn, bring it along the back like we've been doing with the float, just like this, and then we will do our 6 stitches. And then on every 3rd stitch, we're going to lock that yarn float on the back there by carrying it for 1 stitch. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 right here. Lock that float in. And then we'll do our increase where we do 2 waistcoat stitches in the same stitch. And that is what the color work for that repeat starts out as. So then you'll just repeat that all the way around, and then the next round is very similar to this one without any increases. So essentially you're just repeating this row right here, and you'll do the 1 stitch there. Once you do those next 2 rounds, then I will show you how to do the different colored increases as we continue with our color work. And just remember, as you're doing the waistcoat stitch, be sure to not pull on your yarn too much to make your stitches too tight. You want to have each stitch nice and loose so that you can easily insert your hook through it. Otherwise, you'll be fighting with your stitches. So go ahead and do those 2 rounds, and then we'll move on to the next part. After you do those 2 rounds, we are going to start on this row right here that has the increase that is done with 2 different colors of stitches. So what you'll do is you'll start by crocheting 14 stitches in your cream, and then on your last yarn over before that next stitch, you'll switch to the orange, and then I'll show you how to do this increase. So what you're going to do is you're going to do it like a normal increase where you go in the next stitch, but instead of finishing off your stitch with this orange color, you're going to switch to the cream, and then you'll do the cream stitch inside the same stitch you did the orange one, and then you'll have 2 different colors that you've done your increase in. So I use this frequently in my patterns. It helps to have the color work spread out nicely, and you can factor it into how the increases are done in the patterns. But essentially, whenever you see on on the charts where it has those last 2 stitches of the row are in the are 2 different colors, you're going to do just what I showed you, where you do 1 stitch in the orange and then 1 stitch in the cream, and then you'll continue doing your rounds. And you'll just continue doing these same techniques of switching your colors at those certain points and until you finish all of the color work for the yoke. And then after that, I will show you how to join for the armholes so we can do the body. Well, friend, guess what? You did it! You finished your first circular yoke. So you'll see that the pattern here on the color work starts out like this, and we had those little 2 rows that I showed you how to do here, and then when it's all done, it will look like this. So once you finish up this those 2 rows of just the plain cream on the sweater, then you're going to switch to your 3rd color, and we're going to do another one of these solid stripes and then some more color work. But depending on what size you're doing, some sizes will immediately begin doing the next stripe as their armhole join round. So some sizes will keep increasing with the new color, whereas some others, like this one that I'm doing in my sample, will go right away to doing the 2nd stripe. So what we're going to do is, whenever you get to the point where you're done with that 2nd little bit of rows, you're going to take your 3rd color and join it like that, like we've been doing, and then we are going to start our next round. So when you do an armhole join for your color work, and for any sweater in general, what you're going to be doing is we are going to be crocheting an amount, and then we will create our armholes with chain stitches and skipping stitches. So you'll see here on my sweater, I have marked the 2 points where this is the stitches that I will be skipping. So I am going to crochet up to this point where my little yellow pin is. Then I am going to chain 12 stitches. Each size will vary a little bit on that. And then I will skip all of these and then continue crocheting. And then I've done that same thing on the other side here. I highly, highly recommend marking your armhole points with pins. I have done it where I have not done that, and it messed me up so much. So, highly recommend marking these points. It saves you so much time in the end. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. You'll start by doing your chain 1, and then you do your waistcoat stitch like normal, all the way till you get to the pin. And then once you get to your very first pin, what you're going to do is we are going to do our chain stitches to skip to form the armhole. So for my size, I am doing 12 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And then I am going to skip all the way across here, pulling this chain stitch, the stranded chains, all the way to the stitch that's on the other side of my pin. Then I am going to just do my normal single crochet, and then there you go. I have officially formed my first armhole. So one of the things that you might run into when you do an armhole join is sometimes on your, when you try the yoke on, which I always recommend doing before you do an armhole join, you might find that the chain stitches sit too high up on your armpits. So if you run into that, what I recommend doing is just doing a couple rows of the second color till it reaches the length that you want it to be, and then you won't have to worry about it being so tight. You can also always do more chain stitches. It will affect the stitch count of this pattern, but if you look inside of the written pattern, I have a couple little instructions on how to customize this. So then what you're going to do for the rest of this round is you are just going to go ahead and crochet to the other pins for your other armhole, finish that, and then crochet to the end of the round. Once you are done with crocheting this armhole join round, you'll have your third color on all the way around on this row. You'll have your 2 armholes that you have made, and then what you can do is go ahead and doing this stripe section we did at the very beginning, but now we'll just do it with this purple color or whatever color you're using as your third color. Whenever you get to the chains here in the arms, you will single crochet through all of them for the first round, and then you will do the waistcoat stitch through those stitches once you get to them. And then once you do that, then I will show you how to do the next bit of color work using a different type of chart. Once you have finished all of the rows of this next section of color, then we are going to move on to the section similar to this one right here, but with this purple color. So I have already gone ahead and done the 2 rows that are just solid with contrast color 1. So what I'm going to do now is look at the chart here, and you'll see that there were the 2 rows of just the solid, and now on this third one right here we are going to add in the color work. You'll notice that this chart is different than the one that we used for the yoke because it is just a square or rectangle, and it doesn't have any sections where it's increasing outward in a more triangular shape. This is because there are no increases or decreases in this section of the sweater, so when you are doing the color work for this section, you only need to just repeat this all the way around because we already have the amount of stitches that we want to have for the rest of the sweater. So you'll see here, what we're going to do is that we'll do 3 stitches of contrast color 1, then we'll do the purple, and then do it again, 3 more stitches on the other side, and then we will repeat this same pattern all the way around. So I'll show you how we do that. We'll do our normal chain 1, then we're going to just do 3 of those stitches, and on the back here I've carried my purple yarn up each row by carrying it for just 1 stitch. That way I don't have to rejoin it. So we've got 2 and 3, and on this last one we will change colors to the purple, and then we will do our 2 purple stitches just like this. And then we'll do our 3 of this color, and since we're doing Fair Isle, just remember to carry your other color every couple stitches so that you don't have too big of floats, and that is how big your little section of color work is going to be, and then you just repeat this all the way around. So basically the rest of the sweater is done like this. You'll have 1 more section of solid colored after we finish this part right here, and when you're doing the sections of color work for the rest of the sweater, you're just going to move 1 row down the chart till you get to the solid color, and then you will repeat this section here that is 8 stitches wide all the way around for 15 rows till you get to the very end of your sweater. And once you finish up the last 2 sections of color work and the solid sections as well, then we will go ahead and start working on the sleeves. Once you finish the body of your sweater, then it's time to begin crocheting the sleeves. So the nice part about circular yoke designs is that you don't have any seams that you have to do, and then you can just work in all of these stitches along here and in the chain stitches here at the bottom as well. What you'll want to make sure that you do is to start your armhole in one of the back spots. So you'll want to start it on here since this is the back of the sweater. This way your seam on your sleeve will be facing towards the back and it won't show up on the front of your sweater. So how you'll start the sleeve is you're going to take your color that you used right here. So I'm using my purple yarn. Then I'm going to pull up my yarn like this. Then I'm going to start by chaining one, and then we can start crocheting this. So what we'll do is we will crochet in this same stitch right here, and the nice thing is that you can already begin your waistcoat stitches off of the waistcoat stitches that were in this armhole row that you skipped. So you don't have to do single crochets the normal way and then restart some waistcoat stitches. You can just use what is already there. So then once you get to you just crochet all the way around in each one of these stitches and through each of the chains, and then I'll show you how we do the decrease rounds. Did you start it? Mm-hmm. Okay. So once you have crocheted all the way around the armhole, you will join to that chain one that we did at the beginning of the round with a slip stitch to complete this round. Then we are going to do our very first decrease row. So we'll start by chaining one, and then we are going to do 4 waistcoat stitches. It might be a little bit different for your size depending on how many stitches are around your armhole. And then after the 4th one, then we are going to do a decrease. So you'll do 4 of those waistcoat, and then you'll do a waistcoat decreased stitch, which is just a normal single crochet decrease. And then you just repeat that all the way around. So you'll do the 4 stitches and then the decrease. And you'll be doing a variety of doing sections of just where you do all waistcoat stitches around, and then you add decreases until you get it tapered to your wrist. And I'll show you how I do the striping in order to get that so that you can plan for that as well. As you work on the sleeves for your sweater, you'll be able to customize the striping that you do on each sleeve. What I did is I decided to add a variety of size of stripes. So sometimes I have one stripe and just one color, and then meaning one row in that color, and then just kind of vary that. I tried to match it as best as I could to the body of the sweater so that you'll see here it kind of just blends together so that it looks like it's all just one piece when your arms are on your sides. But you can totally just vary the amount of stripe widths that you do on your sleeves. So what I did here is I did 13 rounds of the purple, 1 of my main color, 1 of the third color, 3 with my second color, then 1 with the main color, 3 with the second, 1 with the third, 1 with the main color, 13 with the third color, and I did 2 with the next color, and then I did 6 with the main color, 2 with the orange, and 6 again with the main color, and ended it with my gold there. So you don't have to copy this striping pattern. Remember, like I said, it's up to you. The way I've written it within the pattern is that it tells you what my striping pattern is, and then you just take the base pattern that has all the decreases and row amounts in there, and you just can adapt it and have fun with it as you go. And just make sure that each sleeve looks the same, so you do the same amount of stripes on each sleeve of your sweater as you finish up the pattern. Well, I hope that you enjoy your brand new crochet sweater. I'm sure it's going to look amazing on you, and if you make this sweater, be sure to tag me on social media at eclairmakery, or use hashtag eclairmakery to share your finished sweater so I can share it on my page, because I love getting to share the creations that you guys make from my designs. And remember to hit that like button below and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any of my videos. And I can't wait to see your sweaters and get to share all of the fun crochet tutorials I have coming up here on my channel. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and happy crocheting. Bye! Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to like it below if you enjoyed watching it, and hit the subscribe button if you never want to miss out a video from me, and also check out my other videos and tutorials on my channel. See you next time!